Good afternoon. I'd like to call the Finance, Ways and Means Committee to order for March 14th, 2023. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Representatives Barrett, Boyd, Campbell, Camper, Cochran, Crawford, Faison, Freeman, Gant, Garrett, Hawk, Hicks, Kiesling, Lamberth, Love, Lynn, McKenzie, Miller, Moon, Parkinson, Shaw, Sparks, Whitson, Williams, Zachary, Vice Chairman Baum, Chair Lady Hazelwood.
Here.
Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And as information, we have a calendar day with 8 bills, and what we do not have today are budget hearings. Do we have any personal orders or other announcements other than no more budget hearings? Seeing none, we will go directly to our calendar. Item 1 is House Bill 374 by Speaker Pro Tem Marsh. Speaker Marsh, you have a motion and you have a second. You're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. This bill is from the Secretary of State's office to transfer oversight of fantasy sports from the Secretary of State's office to the Sports Wagering Advisory Council. With the passage of the Sports Gaming Act, it makes sense to move the regulatory oversight of fantasy sports to the Sports Wagering Advisory Council to take advantage of the inefficiencies from centralized regulation of sports wagering fantasy sports. This bill does not create any new fantasy sports, and it does not expand sports wagering. It does not change the way taxes are collected on fantasy sport. It only transfers regulations of fantasy sports. With that, I'll answer any questions.
You've heard the sponsor's explanation. Do we have any questions? The question has been called. Without objection, we'll be voting on House Bill 374. Moving on to calendar and rules. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Speaker Marsh, your bill goes on to calendar and rules. Thank you very much. Item number 2 on our calendar, House Bill 130. That has been requested that we roll that 1 week. So without objection, roll 1 week. Item number 3, Chairman Farmer, House Bill 1367. You have a motion and a second. Chairman Farmer, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Committee. What this does, it adds some opioid abatement fund settlements to our coffers. It's going to add about $490 million to be able to be spread across the state and municipalities and locals, and to go towards that opioid abatement fund we set up a few years ago, or actually last year.
All right, you've heard the sponsor's explanation. I see no questions.
Madam Chair, is the amendments on there already, right? I think.
Yes, it's traveling.
Thank you. Thank you.
So without objection, we're voting on House Bill 1367. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 1367 goes to calendar and rules. Thank you, Chairman Farmer.
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee members. Appreciate your time.
Number 4 on our calendar, House Bill 895, Chairman Hurt. Chairman Hurt, you have a motion and a second. You are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Committee. Members, House Bill 896 pertains to the academic standards review cycle and textbook extension. In 2016, when the legislature, in partnership with the Governor's Office and the State Board of Education, undertook the replacement of Common Core state standards and put into place arguably the most transparent and thorough standards review and input process in the country for English language arts, math, science, and social studies. At that time, the cycle was set for each of those reviews once every 6 years. This legislation will extend it to 8 years. With the pandemic and other considerations during that time, the increased workload for the Textbook and Instructional Materials Commission, as well as the need for teachers to get used to teaching the standards before they are substantively changed, the State Board of Education is seeking this change in the timeline going forward. It's welcomed by districts as well as the Textbook and Instructional Materials Commission, and it'll decrease state expenditures around $100,000, and most importantly, or very importantly, decrease local expenditures around $16 million. So with that, Madam Chair, I'll take any questions.
You've heard the description of the bill. Are there any questions? This is an easy group today. Without objection, we are voting. I'm sorry, Leader Camper.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative, do you think that this could result in some of the school having old, outdated books by extending it for 2 years?
Chairman Hurt?
Madam Chair, thank you, Madam Chair. I don't think so. The textbook commission feels confident that this will be handled well and they will not get out of date with just extending it by only 2 years.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair, Madam Chair, Mr. Sponsor.
Other questions? All right, seeing none, we're voting on House Bill 896. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. And House Bill 896 goes on to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee.
Number 5 on our calendar by Chairman Reagan, House Bill 1387. Chairman Reagan, you have a motion and a second. You're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Simply stated, this bill adds a Chamber of Commerce foundation that has been in the state for at least 10 consecutive years and defined as a nonprofit organization to be able to hold fundraising events in conjunction with Chambers of Commerce events. Synergistically, many Chambers of Commerce, and I belong to 2 of them, hold events for communities. Sometimes they're not so well attended. And this, by holding a charitable fundraising event in conjunction with it, will increase the community involvement as well as potentially increase the amount that can be raised for the charity. As amended, this bill, well, you've read the fiscal note. I don't need to tell you. It's a good thing for the state.
Thank you for that explanation, Mr. Sponsor. I see no questions. I take that back. Chairman Hawk, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair Lady, and forgive me, since I have an opportunity to see Chairman Reagan 5 minutes after I just saw Chairman Reagan. I want to apologize to him for the time that we lost in a prior committee, having you rush over here and myself. So I want to publicly apologize to Chairman Reagan for the time that we lost in committee, and look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, ma'am.
No apology necessary. I'm chairman. I understand what it's like.
All right, I see no other comments or questions. Question has been called on the bill. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 1387 moves on to calendar and rules. That brings us to item
Thank
number
you, Chairman and committee.
6, House Bill 316, being carried by Representative Bricken. Representative Bricken, you have a motion and a second. You are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chairman and committee members. House Bill 316 was brought to me by our friends over at the Department of Financial Institutions. The bill, known as the Money Transmission Modernization Act, replaces the Tennessee Money Transmitters Act of 1994. It is a model act that we hope all states over the next few years will adopt. It will improve and provide uniformity of licensing and regulatory standards for the money transmitting industry. It will not create a world currency, doesn't have anything to do with cryptocurrency. With that, I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Sponsor. I'm not sure if other committee members have had correspondence on this, but I've had a great deal of correspondence, text, emails, calls to my office. And without objection, I'd like for us to go out of session and hear from the department and make sure that we get all of those so we know exactly what's in this bill, what it does, and perhaps more importantly, some of the things it does not do. Without objection, we're out of session. And if you would please introduce yourself to the committee.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Todd Staley, Legislative Liaison, Tennessee Department of Financial Institutions. Real quickly, I believe some of the communications you all have received here recently in regards to the bill is with concerns with the definition of money that's in the legislation, and that is issued by the United States government or a foreign government, or it includes a monetary unit account established by an intergovernmental organization between 2 or more governments. It's the latter portion that I think has raised some concerns. What does that mean? So this has been put in the bill to include the euro. The euro is not issued by a single foreign government. And so in order to capture the euro, this language was included because that is issued by the European Council. And so that's the explanation as to why that specific language is in there. There's no nefarious intent. There's no look to create a digital currency or a world currency. This bill does not impact the virtual currency or crypto. This is only dealing with fiat currency that is issued by the United States government, a foreign government, or this exception to include the European Council.
Chairman Zachary.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Todd, for that explanation. Can you confirm this has nothing to do with the Universal Commercial Code?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. No, this bill does not impact the UCC or have anything to do with the UCC.
Okay. Thank you, Todd. Thank you, Madam Chair.
And could you just confirm again what I think you just said, but will or will not this bill require digital or bring digital requirements to every transaction for every business or individual?
No.
And is there any autonomy with this total central bank control? Does this change anything about Tennessee's autonomy in banking as related to the central bank?
No, Madam Chair. This bill is dealing with money transmitters, so it does not impact banks. There's nothing in the bill regarding a central bank digital currency or anything to that extent.
And it does not require digital dollars. That is, I think there's a great deal of misunderstanding out there, as you mentioned earlier about that. Representative Lynn.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. And can you define money transmitter as either in the code or a definition in the bill?
So I don't have the specific bill in front of me to provide that definition, but a money transmitter is this is a company that is receiving funds to then transmit to a third party. So traditionally we think of you walk into a brick and mortar location and you want to send wire money to a family or friend in another state or in another country. That is how that technology has typically worked. Today, though, a lot of that is through mobile applications, whether it's, I hate to use company names, but PayPal, Venmo, they would all also fall under money transmission.
Thank you. Are there other questions? Again, thank you, Mr. Saley, for being here. I do think the bill is lengthy because of the amount of code and statute that, things are being changed in. So I think that has generated a lot of concern, along with some miscommunication and misinformation about this bill being able to create or requiring a digital currency, and our good old George Washington's not being good old currency anymore. Leader Lambert, you have a question or comment?
If you don't mind, Madam Chairman. So just to that point, and also to both gold and silver, does this affect in any way the ability to be able to use cash money or to purchase or sell gold or silver?
No, Leader, there's nothing in the bill that would include that type of in a money transmission transaction, because an individual, if they were wanting to wire money somewhere, maybe if they're at a brick and mortar location, they could use cash to do that. Of course, if it's a mobile to mobile, that would be done electronically. And so it wouldn't impact those type of transactions, no.
Leader Lambert.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. And I just wanted to highlight that because, again, none of this changes anything except for that when you are choosing to electronically transfer funds. So if you want to transfer funds by handing a $5 bill to somebody else, there's nothing in this bill that affects it. If you want to hand somebody a gold coin, there's nothing that affects it. This bill just doesn't affect any of that, correct?
That is correct, sir.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Representative Barrett.
Good afternoon. And I'm apologize for asking what may be a really simplistic question, but could you explain what happens if this bill doesn't pass? What changes here? What is this what problem is this attempting to fix?
Okay, so a little bit of background is that this legislation has been brought together through our national professional organization, the Conference of State Bank Supervisors, which includes all the state banking departments across the U.S. And this industry is heavily regulated on the state side versus the federal, and so there has been a push for a number of years to come up with more uniform standards among the states in terms of licensing these businesses, in terms of examining these businesses. And so this is an effort, not just in Tennessee, but nationwide, to do that through this legislation. So if we didn't have this legislation, we have existing law that regulates this industry, but it has not kept up with the times. A good example is many aspects of the current statute look at number of locations, number of agents. Many of these licensees today have no locations, have no agents, because they work on mobile applications, they're internet based. And so this legislation is an attempt to update the laws to make sure that we can effectively regulate these companies.
Thank you. And again, I think that's an important point that perhaps we should have started with that background. And that was a great question, Representative Barrett. But I do want those watching and other members to realize that what we're attempting to do here is, as Mr. Staley has just stated, to bring our statutes up to deal with the issues, the environment that we're operating in today. And this will allow, this is all about state governance, not federal governments, but this is actually about giving Tennessee the ability to better control those people who are transmitting money, whether it's electronically, whether it's physically, or whatever methodology, into and out of our state. So with that, with no further questions for Mr. Staley, Chairman Hawk.
Thank you, Chair Lady. Mr. Staley, I noticed the effective date of the bill is January 1 of 2024. What will need to occur in order to lead us into that by the January 1, 2024 enactment date?
Yeah, so Mr. Chairman, part of the reason why that effective date was chosen was, well, obviously for implementation purposes, but also licensees currently renew their license at the end of the year. And so the renewal period runs from November 1st to December 31st. It seemed incumbent upon the department to have that lag time in there so that for implementation purposes, for the renewal purposes, that we weren't going under the new law, having licensees renew and then coming in again. So that's why we have the January 1st day.
Thank you. Members, good questions, good discussion. Without objection, we will go back into
Thank you,
session.
Madam.
Thank you, Mr. Staley. We are back in session, and Representative Ricken, you're recognized.
I renew my motion.
Any further questions or comments from members? Without objection, we'll be voting on House Bill 316. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 316 moves on to calendar and rules. Thank you, Representative Ricken. Number 7 on our calendar is by our own Chairman Zachary. We have a motion and a second. Chairman Zachary, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, this simply renews the Proton Therapy Access Act that passed unanimously in 2019. Had sunset, this renews it. I'll be glad to take any questions.
Questions for the sponsor? Seeing none, we are voting on House Bill 801. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 801 moves on to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Committee.
The last item on our agenda today, item 8, House Bill 1079 by Representative Shaw. Representative Shaw has requested to roll that 1 week. Without objection, House Bill 1079 rolled 1 week. That does complete our calendar for today. Do we have any further business coming before the committee? Seeing none. Oh, I'm sorry. Chairman Zachary.
Well, Madam Chair, I think I have the same question others have. Are there no budget hearings we can sit through for the next hour?
we made the announcement in the beginning that no budget hearings today. We do have, just so you won't get out of the habit, we do have some expansion requests that will be coming in front of us.
Very good. Outstanding,
So,
members. Outstanding. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I've heard a motion to adjourn. That's non-debatable. We are adjourned.
I would still say, congratulations.